The story of Odin, Scene 7, Take Infinity. Action.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the History and Mystery channel. I'm your host, Chronicler, and I want you to like and subscribe. Now that you've done that, I want to delve into the story of the Allfather, the Wanderer, the One-Eyed God, what they called Odin, the god of war and death. Odin was a central figure in Norse mythology, and similar stories to his would be found in multiple Germanic beliefs. In this video, we will focus on the written tales about Odin, but as I know, much of them are up for debate, because there are so many different versions of his story. This is because Norse mythology was mostly passed down to generation, by spoken words and poetry. There was not a written book like the Bible, the Torah or the Quran. Only when Christianity started to come to Scandinavia, the people started to preserve the stories of the old gods by writing them down. An Icelandic poet named Snorri Sturluson wrote down prose versions of the stories in his book Proza-Edda in the year 1220. Most of my knowledge comes from this book. So, for our video of today, I made again 5 parts. And those 5 parts are Odin's origins and the creation of the universe, Odin's sacrifice, Odin, Freya and the war between the gods, Odin's ravens, Ragnarok and Odin's death. The origins of the Allfather, Odin, start at his birth. Odin was the son of Bor and the giantess Bestla. Odin was the first child, but he would later be joined by his 2 siblings, called Vili and Ve. The world as we know it wasn't created yet back then. Our world would be created after Odin and his 2 younger brothers, Vili and Ve, defeated the frost giant Ymir. After defeating him, they would use his bones, blood and flesh to create the universe. While creating the universe, Odin would also create 9 realms, which he would name Asgard, the realm of the Aesir and the location of Valhalla; Alfheim, the realm of the bright elves; Jotunheim, the realm of the giants; Midgard, our realm, the realm of the humans, which was located between Asgard and Jotunheim; Muspelheim, the realm of fire and the location of the fire giant Surtur; Nidavellir, the realm of the dwarves who live under the earth; Niflheim, the realm of ice and mist; Svartalfheim, the realm of the black elves; and Vanaheim, the realm of the Vanir. Later it is also said that there was a 10th realm called Hell, but we're gonna focus on the old ones that we know. After creating all these realms, Odin would create the first man and woman from an ash tree and an elm tree. Now that humanity was created, Odin started his rule from his palace Valhalla, which was located in Asgard. As we know, Odin was the god of war, and that's why he watched over the warriors that died during battle. Odin was also responsible for preparing an army that would fight during Ragnarok, which is the final battle in which the gods were doomed to die, so that a new world could arise. Because of this important task, Odin would send his Valkyries to the battlefields to carry the souls of the bravest warriors to the great halls of Valhalla. In these halls, he would feast with them and also prepare them for the battle to come. They would do this by reenacting multiple battles that they faced during their lifetime. While sitting on his throne in the hall of Valhalla, Odin started to look across the world, and a thought would cross his mind. I need to know everything. I need more wisdom, knowledge, and I have to find out everything that's hidden away from me. This desire made Odin sacrifice himself to himself. Odin would sacrifice his eye by taking it out and throwing it into Mimir's well. After doing this, Odin would grab his spear, named Gungnir, and stab himself. After the stabbing, he would hang himself on the Yggdrasil, also known as the Tree of Life. Odin would hang there for 9 days and 9 nights. There's also a written piece of poetry about his sacrifice, which I would like to tell to you. So I quote, "Now that I hung on that windy tree 9 whole days and nights, stabbed with a spear offered to Odin myself to my own self giving, high on a tree of which none have heard, from what roots it rises to heaven. None refresh me ever with food or drink. I peered right down in the deep. Crying aloud, I lifted the runes. Then back I fell from there. End quote. During the sacrifice he made towards himself, Odin would receive visions and secret wisdom. Thanks to the magical knowledge he received, Odin was able to cure the sick, calm the storms, turn weapons against his enemies, and make women fall in love with him with just a look. When Odin's sacrificial ritual was over, he gained the knowledge he was looking for, and he became able to read and understand the magical runes. The gods wouldn't always live peaceful among each other, and it would even lead to a great war between the Aesir gods and the Vanir gods. Odin would start the war, but the Vanir were fierce warriors and would be successful in multiple counterattacks. Unfortunately, there are no records on what happened during the war, but what we do know is how it ended. And it didn't end with glory for any of the parties involved, because the war ended in a draw. The two parties would exchange hostages, and the Aesir ended up taking the Vanir god of the sea, Njorf, his son Frey and daughter Freya. In exchange, the Aesir gave the Vanir two gods named Honir and Mimir. The Vanir felt that the exchange had been made in bad faith, when Honor refused to decide anything for himself, and let Mimir make all the decisions. But if I have to be honest, in my eyes, Honir's silence was justified, based on the legendary wisdom of Mimir. But the Vanir hated the fact that Honor did nothing, and this would lead to so much frustration from the Vanir, that they decided to kill Mimir and send Odin his head. As a resourceful man he was, Odin decided to make use of the head, smearing it with herbs and speaking spells over it. This made the head come back to life, so that it was able to answer all of Odin's questions. As for the Vanir's hostages, Njorf and his children Frey and Freya, they became incorporated among the Aesir. Freya even became the first to teach a form of magic to the gods, and this form of magic was called Scythe, which is the magic of the Volva. This form of magic would later become forbidden to mankind. Besides being incorporated into the Aesir, Freya would officially become one of them to her marriage to Odin. Every morning at the crack of dawn, Odin would send his two ravens, Hugin and Munin, across the world. And when supper arrived, the two ravens would return and take a seat on Odin's shoulders. Both of the ravens would then start to whisper into Odin's ears and tell him about all the things they had seen around the world. With the help of his ravens, Odin would always be one of the most wisest and knowledgeable of the gods. Odin's ravens were also more than just some ravens that would gather news and information for Odin. His ravens also represented two of Odin's most valuable qualities: his memory and his thought. Hugin would represent Odin's thoughts, and Munin would represent Odin's memories. These two qualities were of the highest importance to Odin, and losing one of them was one of his biggest fears. Because Odin worried that one day one of the ravens would not return, and if one of the ravens did not return, it would mean that Odin would lose either his ability to think or to remember. The connection between Odin and his ravens is very old, and it was already present in depictions of Odin on helmets and shields in the 6th and 7th century AD, which was way before the beginning of the Viking Age in the year 793 AD. The bond between the Vikings and the ravens only got stronger once they started their sea voyages and explorations of the unknown. The Vikings took ravens in cages with them on their ships and would release them on the sea. They would use the ravens as navigators to find land, and once they arrived in the unfamiliar land, they would follow the ravens to find food. Ragnarok, the end of the world as we know it, and the beginning of a new one, is one of the most important events in Norse mythology, and the Allfather, Odin, would be a key figure during this event. All of the good and the bad deeds of the gods led up to this self-fulfilling prophecy. 3 cold winters arrived, with no summer in between. The sky split into 2. Jormungandr breached the lands by flooding it, and a giant wolf named Fenrir confronts Odin during these events. Knowing that the end of time has come, the Aesir prepared themselves for war. Odin put on his gold helmet, a coat made from chainmail, and grabbed his spear. Now they are ready for war, Odin leads the gods into battle. With his son Thor at his side, he advances against Fenrir. The plan was to take on Fenrir together, but unfortunately Thor was unable to assist, because Jormungandr would attack Thor and keep him distracted. Now that Odin faced Fenrir alone, a relentless battle broke out between the two of them, in which they both fought bravely and without mercy. But in the end, Fenrir's brutal strength would be too much for Odin to handle, and a now tired and weakened Odin would lose the battle and be swallowed up by Fenrir, also known as the son of Loki. But that's a story for another day. I want to thank you all for listening. See you in the next one. And remember, history is written in mystery.